I'm recording on this computer. I woke up with a
It
really weirdly dry mouth this
oh
morning. Hmm.
weird that the interface that makes me approve your recording has gotten a lot smaller.
Oh yeah, they keep changing everything. You have to approve my recording?
I
It
don't.
used to
Oh
be
yeah,
a
I guess
big
I do.
pop-up.
It says okay. It's a little thing across the top. It says
It's just
okay,
alerting you. It's just
not
tell
okay.
oh.
It does that now, but it used to be like a big giant window that was like the recording is recording. You must approve the recording.
Hmm. Since I'm always recording, I guess I never see that. It's always my
Hmm.
meeting, so no one shows me that.
Hmm.
Hmm. Okay.
Hmm.
I have the summary for this one, right?
Well, I don't, so I hope you do.
I don't.
Okay. I wrote one, so I guess it works out that way. I just remember once I wrote one that I didn't need to write. So I didn't know if I did that today or not because I didn't think about it like that hard.
There was at least I think one run where I wrote like three summaries because I kept thinking it was my turn or something, or no, it was my turn, but then I read your summary or something. I don't remember.
Hmm.
So stuff like that happened.
Okay. Shall we done this one?
Yeah, let's do it. Welcome to
You want to do take two?
let's do it. Uh, welcome to podcast 1999, the podcast about space 1999. I am your mutineer, Mark.
You could be a mutant too. I mean, that's definitely a good 70s sci-fi thing.
I
I'll be your
almost said
seance hol I'll be holder of seances, Matt.
And I'll be
mm.
your weirdly ineffective head of security, Brian.
Okay, it's good you didn't choose a Spectre. You wouldn't be in this episode.
Did you see my note? The
Yeah.
very last line. Where is the effing Spectre? But I guess we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
Fake Brian Blessed was the Spectre. Hey, Mark, I know that you do
No, it
trivia in a
wasn't.
moment too, but is this the same fake Brian Blessed as a few weeks ago, or is it a different fake
No,
Brian Blessed?
different guy.
Okay.
Different guy.
I mean, he's
Guy.
younger
If
for sure.
I
I
mean,
thought it was a little girl,
at
wasn't
least
it?
give me enough credit that the only guest in that episode I would have at least said that he would show back up. He didn't. He
No,
wasn't.
no, he was
He wouldn't.
fired. He didn't fire, he quit.
He he mutinied and then got blown up.
I mean, am I wrong here? Did this kind of feel like like kind of the Death of their Dominion villain role like played like differently? I mean, just it had that vibe, the beard. It's the beard and the haircut.
This episode sucked. This made Collision Course worse. This was bad. I did not enjoy this, except for, well, the usual, the things I always enjoy about this show, which is that it looks cool and it has cool music and it's fun and swashbuckling and all that.
I like
But
that they forcibly took over command, turned off the lights, and held a seance.
Yeah, I was like, we interrupt your insurrection for a seance.
but
And it's not
the
a seance in any sense that we are invoking the spirit of anybody. We're just all holding hands in what is it? Total concentration.
Maximum effort.
Total
yes,
concentration. It's the line
we've
that kept going through my head.
we've established that there are ghosts, there are monsters, there are demons, there's ESP, there's aliens, there's everything. And then what does this episode give us? Nothing. It gives us nothing. Is people who predicted some things correctly, so they insist that they predicted this correctly, even though that every piece of science says that it's not correct. This is these
Mark,
people are
those people
terrible.
are in the real world too.
I know. I'm talking directly to them. I'm pointing at them while I say this. They are bad.
AKA our
And
listeners. Wait, no, that's not right. I said that right when you
actually,
said they are bad.
probably not. Probably not our listeners. Probably a few to none, but I don't know. But it's like if Koenig crashes an eagle onto like a planet with piss air, you know, and he's like, you can't live there, then you don't scream at him, no, the planet is habitable.
They
Anyway,
should have landed. They should have had Sanderson and his team land on the ship at some point on the planet in the end to inhabit it with moon base careening away from them.
that would have been fine. I
That
would
would
have
have been
been
a
fine with
better
that.
ending.
Have
Yeah,
been a better
okay.
ending. They just like insist on staying there.
I love this
Um,
ending too, which I don't know if I should talk about yet. Maybe you should talk about the trivia first.
yeah, might as well. I've already gotten way ahead of us ourselves. Trivia. This is the 20th in production order for season 2. The second and final episode directed by Peter Medak. The first having been Space Warp. The primary writing credit goes to Donald James. You last saw his work on Journey to Where. And this is his final episode too. The original title was The Mutiny, which clearly would have been a better title. Also, during the filming of this episode, the cast and crew were informed that a planned 13-episode third season would not be happening because the orders from U.S. TV stations had fallen short of the minimum quota, or at least that's what they were told. ... Also leaving the series for the last time after this week is Jenny Merton. She'd been offered a role in Norwegian film Cosmetic Revolution. That's
Try
just
that
one
one
big
more
word.
time.
Cosmetic Revolution.
Okay.
Well, it's Kosmetikrevolution. And the shooting schedule was in conflict with Space 1999's schedule. The summary for that film is Klinox Incorporated sees their new red condom Ding Dong as a hit, but the product is prohibited due to the political color. At the same time, the mysterious Lucy Ferner from a Hong Kong company seeks out where they could build their cosmetic empire. Apparently, Merton only speaks English in the film in her scenes and has people speaking to her in English in a Norwegian accent, and all the other scenes have people speaking Norwegian with no subtitles. I've tried to find this film, but it seems lost to time, at least for English speakers, and maybe for people who can't go to used video stores in Norway. Guest starring this week as Greg Sanderson is Ken Hutchison. And the original script had his name as Sandor, which just sounds like a Fred Freiberger name for somebody. He was born in 1948
That's another
in
mistake.
Scotland.
Not calling him Sandor.
Yeah, I mean,
Like a one night, like just the one word.
I am Sand. If he just kept yelling, "I am Sandor," this would have been a better episode. He was born in 1948 in Scotland. He was often cast in villainous roles, and his career spanned from the late 60s until the end of the millennium. You can see him in Send in the Girls, Lady Hawk, and Gandhi. He passed away in 2021 at the age of 72. As Ava Lewis, we have Carolyn Seymour, born in 1947 in Buckinghamshire to Estonian and Irish parents. She was actually married to director Peter Medak at the time of this episode's filming, but they divorced in 1984. She had an impressive and varied career for nerds like us, having appeared in episodes of 80s Twilight Zone, Tales from the Dark Side, 5 episodes of various 90s Star Trek, Babylon 5, Mortal Kombat Annihilation, and she's lent her voice to several video games, including several Gears of War and Mass Effect games, and Star Wars games such as Star Wars Jar Jar's Journey, which I just found out is a video game.
We're going to play it?
No. She's still alive and kicking and working as of this recording, and hopes to get back to doing more British TV and stage work in the near future. As Cernick, I think. Cernick? We have Nigel Pegram, born in 1940. His career has been all over the map with roles in animation, TV, and film. You can see and or hear him in All Dogs Go to Heaven, Drop the Dead Donkey, and Get Some In. As of 2024, he's still a working actor. Finally, as Stevens, we have James Snell. I don't have an origin or birth date, but he also had an uncredited role in last season's Space Brain, and you can also see him in Gandhi, as well as Sid and Nancy, God on the Rocks, and Not a Penny More, Not a Penny Less. His most recent credit was in 2002, so he appears to be retired. Hope he's out there living his best life and not dead. That's the end of the trivia.
Okay, then I'll do the beginning of the story. Moonbase Alpha is approaching some kind of weather belt in space. Commander Koenig orders secrecy about this as it may raise false hopes once again. This doesn't really work out, though, as Surface Expedition team leader Greg Sanderson accuses Koenig of hiding a habitable planet. Sanderson and his team take over Command Center and hold a seance, where they think they discover this habitable planet. Koenig quickly ends the mutiny, and Dr. Helena Russell takes their actions as mental illness, green sickness, caused by their exploration job. But crazy is as crazy does, and the Sanderson team manages to sabotage Koenig and Maya's reconnaissance Eagle. They do find a planet, crash land on it, and find it definitely not habitable. Alan Carter is able to remote fly them back to Moonbase while Maya turns into a tree. It turns out that Moonbase is on a collision course with the planet, so the crew evacuates in Eagles while Koenig and Maya attempt to set off a nuclear waste explosion that will change the moon's course. Sanderson and friends will have little of this. They refuse to evacuate until they do, except Sanderson, who proceeds to try and stop Koenig's plan. Maya turns into a baby. Koenig sets off the course-changing explosion. And once the crew returns, Dr. Russell makes everyone watch nature footage until they are terminally bored of it in order to stave off future green sickness. Okay, there we go.
Yep.
That's a story for you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for recapping that terrible story.
You're welcome. I am thinking though, I mean, like, okay, there are no ghost monsters or well, the weather belt's weird. That doesn't make any sense that you'd have a weather belt in space that you know, may
It's
or
just
may
like
not
a
involve
dust
a
cloud
planet.
with a planet in the middle of it. I don't even know where you use the word weather to describe that.
Well, they say
It's just-
they say there's all sorts of things. They say there's wind and rain, and they did not say hot hail. I was listening for hot hail, which would make sense in an interstellar weather belt, but yeah, maybe no hot hail.
how many were waiting for them to discover some freaky fungi on that planet? Because
I
every
mean, I
time they
guess you could
crash
have.
land with dust pouring in everywhere, it's like the freaky fungi's got to be in there somewhere.
Again, I would have welcomed that as a twist. There was
It would have
just
made it a much more interesting episode.
it just annoys me so much that like my least favorite episode of season 1, Collision Course, was basically this but more interesting. But this makes it worse in retrospect because now it's kind of like the shoe is on the other foot, and now Koenig is the one that's saying let's not fly to this planet, and nothing makes any nothing makes any sense. There's no reason for any of it, but it's like this is it because you have a seance is an even worse reason than because some spider lady told you to do it. You know, it's just like this is
Or the guy
No
that
one
was
told him to
killing
do
people
it.
because the plants told him to do it. His plants
There's no
had him
hint
to
of
do it.
any
That's
alien
I guess
intelligence involved in this
that was
story that signaled
no.
anybody to do anything. They're just off their rockers, basically.
Yeah,
They're-
and then there's, you know, the moment when they vote to stay, it like that could have been it just amounted to nothing. So it was almost like why did I even watch that happening? Like that I don't know. I guess that proves that Sanderson is insane and they're not, but
Well, it proves that he's more insane. They're all kind of insane. I mean, like when Ava leaves medical the first time and starts like doing stuff, she's kind of like, you know, that's what a Manson girl does, right?
yeah, this is a cult of personality thing.
Yeah.
Everybody's focused on Sanderson for some reason because they said he was their team leader and everybody looked up to him and they were just kind of conditioned to do everything he says, I guess. So that's why I also got kind of a Way to Eden vibe off of this. Remember, Dr. Severin and his space hippies. It would have been more interesting if they actually just turned into space hippies. Then we could just say, oh, it's a ripoff of Way to Eden.
there's a lot of ways they could have gone with this, and it just sort of didn't go anywhere. And it's that it and everybody knows who listens to this podcast probably that one of my pet peeves is people just yelling at each other an argument that's not really an argument. They're just yelling the one line of dialogue at each other over and over, and it's just basically screaming that Koenig is a dictator, and Koenig is like, no, we're not doing this. Like,
What's
yes,
better
we
than a few
are.
weeks ago when we were just open, close, open, close for like 10 minutes, right? Better than that.
Yeah, I suppose.
Well, it was kind of sticking to him though, because he felt the need to try to appease them in any way possible. It's like, all right, we'll cook our computer so you can see everything we see. And it's like, no, don't appease these jerks.
No,
Just
Not,
because they're
especially not when you're going to
demanding things
crash on the
doesn't
planet
mean you
because
have
of
to
that.
give it to them
Yeah,
just
they
to prove you're
crash.
not a dictator.
it's really the worst thing Koenig did as a leader was like kowtow to these guys at all. Like he should have just put them in jail forever. Like, they just been in jail until they got to a planet, and then when they got to the planet, they are ejected before they
Well,
get to the
well,
planet. I don't
again,
know.
they should have forcibly gone this planet. That's also your this way to Eden plot line, right? Where they make it in the end and find that it's a deadly planet.
Well, it's also shades of the Testament of Arcadia. It's like these people are convinced they have to go to the planet and stay there.
The Arcadians might
Yeah.
be okay though, you know. I mean,
But
they don't
Arcadia had
have a
something
good
going for it.
chance.
It had air for one thing.
but the thing is, we know that those maniacs were communing with Arcadians in some
Right.
way. We saw
Right.
it. We saw it happen. In this case, it's just a hunch, or like people who went a little too serious with the Ouija board in high school or something. I don't even know. It's just
See,
ugh.
I've got a little more time for stupid, crazy people doing stupid, crazy things in my movies and TV because we had the same. Like, I don't. Is this my favorite? Not by far, but same with Collision Course. I liked it a little bit better than you did, and because that action in a TV show, I'm like, well, they're nuts, so obviously this doesn't make sense.
Well, you know, it's a lot more interesting to be like, we're going to fly directly into this planet and touch it than it is to say we're going to make you go into orbit in this planet. You know what I mean? It's at least there was something kind of freaky about it, where this is just, no, you don't understand. We have to go and
Well,
hang out
stupid,
there.
crazy people can do stupid, crazy things, right?
Well, yeah.
Anyway, I felt like I should like do bat back a little bit because
Mm.
this isn't quite bottom of the heap. This isn't Luton, which I think is now our standard for bottom. Or is this your standard for bottom of the heap now? I don't know.
I It might be. I don't know. I'd have to, like, the thing is, the guy who wrote this also wrote The Exiles, which I think is pretty low. That's pretty close to the bottom of the barrel. So I
This
don't
one
know.
this one gave you
Luton
a
has to be,
gorilla with a frog head.
yeah, and my becoming a plant is at least
A new head,
weird.
yeah. The frog head. They got an actual frog head now. Looks really proggy. Even more
And
so
the
than the original head.
weirdly buff frogman.
I mean, this
Why
was
is
kind of the
every
same racket that Heaven's Gate people were rolling, right?
why is every Maya transformation like built like a gorilla that has gone to the gym too much? It's like not, it's not even, it's always a little over the top. Like, how could this thing even move?
Yeah.
Because they have one basic suit that was sized for Dave Prowse, and they just keep
Ah,
redressing that suit over and over.
that's a good
Well,
point.
some of them are
Yeah,
like little small aliens, like the little, green guy who could breathe chlorine. They were
that's cool. I
look more
miss
like
that guy.
gymnasts or something in a weird rubber suit.
Um, Brian, you shared a show that Carolyn Seymour was on in the chat that is a
That is
pandemic
the
show.
it is a post-apocalyptic show called Survivors from the BBC in 1975, and she was kind of the star of that. So she probably did that around the same time or a little before this or during it. I think she actually was in the series from 75 to 77. Anyway, it's pretty well regarded. It's kind of a cult thing. I've never watched
Hmm.
it myself, but I've always wanted to. And the plot, of course, was very
It's
timely.
timely right now. Yeah,
Yeah, because
except for their pandemic is called the death.
We
their
made a
Much
pandemic
mistake.
kills 99.98% of the people who get it, and unlike COVID. But yeah, it
This
was released from a Chinese scientist. Oh,
I
ooh.
mean, a lot of people would rather subject themselves than to the death than to or for woke plague or whatever they call it
woke
now.
plague.
The
The woke
woke
plague.
plague. The woke mind virus or whatever the hell
Yeah,
they're
the
calling
woke
it.
mind virus.
That's like the woke
Uh,
plague. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Carolyn's from
You
this because she kept turning up in things later. Like you have a long list of things, but she was also in like
mhm,
Quantum Leap and
mhm.
Return of the Man from Uncle. And she just was
Yeah.
everywhere. Um,
I left a bunch out because I mean I
yeah,
normally would never read that many credits for somebody, but she had such a cool list of stuff.
she
And
played
she's in a
like
lot of other Star
yeah.
Wars games besides Jar Jar's
Yeah, I didn't know
adventure.
about all of her Star Wars
Or
themed
the-
voiceover work. A lot, yeah, a lot besides that one, but also the um I think she was in yeah, like I said, Quantum Leap.
Mhm.
What's the other thing? The Babylon 5 episode when she popped up in that, and I said, "Oh, it's that woman again," because I keep seeing her. I think finally had to take
Yeah.
note of who her name was. But
what
yeah, it's
I
like
mean,
two
system?
different Romulan commanders
she
in Star Trek. Yeah,
yes. She auditioned for the Flash 1991 for Matt. The
Hmm.
um she did audition for Beverly Crusher, but I don't think she was like near the top of the list
all
or
this is to
anything.
say, I think she was criminally underused in this episode. She's just kind of
Hmm.
like a cult follower and didn't have much to
Yeah.
say or do.
Well, that's 70s TV for you, I guess. Just
What
There was
system
another
was the
cameo
Jar
in there
Jar game
too.
on, by the way?
Oh,
Say that.
what?
The Jar Jar game. What system was that on?
Oh, I think it was a computer game, but I can double check here.
Oh, okay. See, I'm fascinated about that's just gonna be stuck in my mind that there's a Jar Jar Binks video game.
it says a lot about this episode that the most interesting thing is a reference to a Jar Jar Binks game.
Oh God, it's an interactive storybook.
Ah,
Oh,
Real
okay.
gonna be real crap. Oh wow.
Boo. Boo.
Wow, it looks like such garbage.
See,
It looks like just a
in my
crappy
mind, it was going to
knockoff.
be like Earthworm Jim, but with Jar Jar Binks and the
I'm
planet of Naboo.
Okay, we all going to eBay now to find a copy of it.
No, because
gonna
it's not
make
an Earthworm Jim knockoff, which is what I wanted from a Jar Jar game.
I'm
You
gonna
type
I'm
Jar Jar
gonna
into eBay. What do you get? I don't even know. But we were digressing pretty early in this episode. We're talking about Jar Jar Binks games.
Will
I'm
this
You'll
fine with
actually get
that.
pictures
This
of
episode's
jars when
bad.
I put Jar Jar into eBay. I get pictures of actual jars, so I'm not even going to go there.
Hmm.
Uh,
Well, this episode teaches you about photosynthesis. Now you know all about that.
that's one of the more clever Maya transformations in a life or death situation. Is like, here, I'll become something that will create oxygen for you. I'm just glad they didn't come in with machetes and start chopping at her when they're trying to get to Kermit.
Did
We've
you
been
guys
to the
know that
dragon's domain. We know what's up here.
did you guys know that Jar Jar Binks reproduces by photosynthesis?
Really? So it all
So,
ties together. We weren't wasting
Sounds
I
time.
real. It
I
sounds real, doesn't it? When I
It
say
I
it like
believe
does.
that
that.
made up fact you just
Well,
gave me.
the part that didn't sound real was Jar Jar Binks reproducing.
Yeah. Yeah, I intentionally worded like that so it wouldn't sound real, but then
Right.
it did. So green sickness. That's terrible. That's bad. That's a dumb thing.
Is
Green,
it
green
now?
sick.
What
I
now?
mean,
What
it's the concept is I mean, dude, I watched like 75 episodes of Voyager. Definitely curious how no one was going completely insane, even with a holodeck. I would definitely be insane in this situation. However, I don't think that I would be that insane to be like, no, we have to go to this planet. I don't, because we all held hands, and also I don't think that watching CRTs of plants would be like
that's
good.
not gonna. Well, she was trying to bore them so they'd be so bored by nature that they wouldn't care anymore, which I don't think that'll work. But
No, yeah, make their life worse. That's a great idea. Make their life as bad as possible. Just
I mean, in real space travel, going to Mars, there is the concept, oh, how nutty are people going to get in a tin can out there, you know? Was it Sunshine's got their weird holographic nature room that they have to hang out in for a while? Um,
I mean,
I,
dude, a lot of people don't. I mean, a lot of people don't go outside of their office, car, or home very much, and that probably makes them insane without them realizing it.
well, see, I'm always outside. Like after this, I'm gonna take a walk for 30 minutes before I go to work. So outside, you know. So I would be the first person. Maybe I would be Sanderson. Maybe that's why I like this episode slightly better. I'd go nuts and become this guy probably and start holding seances.
It's just it's a writing problem. Like if you just had made the seance do anything, make the seance have a ghost that lies to them, and then at the end the ghost is like, "Ah, you idiot."
They could have had a few weird light filters for sure in the SFX.
Yeah, like the
This
plant
show is
one.
not beyond that by any means. It's kind
Yeah,
of the gold standard for it. So why do they skip it there? That's like going to McDonald's and they don't have any hamburgers that day, you know?
like the troubled spirit. I don't. I feel like that was an episode I liked. Not it wasn't near the top of my list, but I liked it a fair amount.
It had a spirit in it.
Yeah, it had so much more than this with basically a
Yeah.
very similar setup. Okay, maybe it's not a similar setup. It's different because that guy was just killing people and there's no planet. But uh,
Well, you prefer that too, and it's just some guy killing people.
I mean, yeah, I mean, planets can be fun, but like it can't all be Mission of the Darians, obviously. But um, yeah, I mean, it was a piss planet. Remember Brian the Brain when there was that piss planet and he was like trying to get the captain's corpse? That was better. I liked that better than this. I like that a lot better than this. Even though Brian the Brain, yes, Brian the Brain as a character was a terrible, like, what a person, terrible robot, but not as
Bad
terrible as this
robot.
guy because at least Brian the Brain was like doing shtick and screaming at people and calling somebody like a toaster or whatever it was.
I
This is
think they called
just.
him a toaster. Isn't that how it
Oh yeah,
works?
you're right. They called him a slot machine.
Hmm.
But there was some back and forth there, and the plot moved, and this just felt like a plot that just kept just circling and circling and circling until the dude just jumps in a crater and dies.
Well, you're in Atlanta. Go find some guy in, fatigues that's about to go move into a miso silo in Montana to, avoid the great whatever is coming,
Woke
and convince him not to do
virus.
the woke virus and convince him not to go. You're not going to do
Yeah.
it.
I'll be like, look, man, this could be 1975, and then it could be China, and then you could be dealing with the death.
Yeah, you could be
Be
dealing with
glad
the
you're not
death,
dealing with the
man.
death.
So you
I'm
dress a little
actually
metrosexual next week. That's fine. You can live with that, right?
I'm just really upset right now that my favorite pancake place is closed, and I'm
What's your
very
favorite
upset.
pancake place?
Original Pancake House. Okay, it's a chain, so I could go to other ones, but it's just that was
Which
the
one? Which one
special.
closed?
The Cheshire Bridge one near where I used to live.
Oh, I didn't go to that one. Okay, because I was
I
gonna
don't
say my
An
think
parents might
entire
not be happy.
I
Italian
don't.
restaurant chain just went out of business too.
Is
Buca
that
di Beppo.
you mean
You ever go to
Peppo?
Buca di
Pep,
Beppo? You ever go there? Yeah,
Boca de
that
Pepo.
just
Beppo.
filed for
It's Beppo.
bankruptcy.
Boca
Beppo.
de Pepo.
Beppo.
Buca di
It's not
Beppo.
I
Peppo.
think I saw that.
Beppo.
Why
Yeah,
did
it's
I
in the
see
news.
that?
Today's news.
Oh, yeah,
We're dating
weird.
our recording right now with today's
Um,
news.
because there's only one that's in It's in Atlanta. It's in Alpharetta. So I was like, I've never heard of that.
Well, you better make it
It's
quickly for
because
some bad Italian food.
Buca di Beppo. There's a better there's a better Italian place in like Kennesaw or something.
There's a better Italian
Um,
place everywhere.
everywhere. No, but I was gonna say, Matt, you haven't set foot in Atlanta since before I moved to the Cheshire Bridge apartment and after I left, even though I was there for like 6 years.
Hmm,
So that's
right.
weird.
Okay. Yes, yes. I like hanging in Japan. That's my groove.
I mean, that was some fun times. I wish I hadn't moved away from that apartment because it was nice. But anyway,
Oops.
um, I still get pancakes to the other one. So
Right.
there's one that's like octagonal.
At least you got a pancake solution. That's the important thing.
Yes, not to
So
mention I can make pancakes. Go
Mark,
ahead.
do you have any other notes about the script and scenes that were cut or anything, or did you make note of those things?
I saw a couple, but I didn't feel like talking about it. But were there any you wanted to discuss?
Well, at the end, when we see the two pinup girls on the screen and
Carolyn
Maya's
Monroe.
looking kind of, yes, Carolyn Monroe
Yes.
was one of them.
Yes.
And the other was going to actually be in the show because Maya was going to transform into her. And then weirdly, Alan was going to try to hit on her because she's a different woman that he was looking at a photo of until Tony waves him off. And I just thought that was weird. But yeah, I did not realize I did not ever notice that was Carolyn Monroe until yesterday when I watched it for the first time on Blu-ray. Like, that's Carolyn Monroe. Who, for the benefit of anybody that doesn't know, she was in a Bond movie about the same time, Spy Who Loved Me. She was in Star Crash. She's turned up here and there, Adamant videos.
Yeah, I
She's
guess
very
at this point
popular
in the
back
show,
in
it's
the day.
clear that Tony actually did Deep Six's Chance of the Maya. There's been nothing between them for the past 5 episodes.
Well, see, we had that in season 1 between like Koenig and Helena. There were stretches where they were kind of hot and cold.
Mm.
Maybe season 3, then they would have been in a committed relationship. I don't
Yeah, but
feel like
there wasn't a such definitive scene of Tony blowing it like we got. I mean, there was a definitive scene of Tony blowing it. There was not a
yeah.
definitive scene of Koenig
No.
and Helena blowing it. So
No, the worst thing Koenig ever did was let the clone of copy of other version
they're
of
having their
Helena
weird
kiss
menage a
him one
trois,
time.
right? Yeah.
The other version of her kiss him once and then she died or faded away or something.
Oh, you were talking about that. Yeah, okay. That's
Another
something
time,
completely.
another place.
Sorry, I was thinking about the time when Maya was turning into things and they were having weird threesomes.
Oh no. Well,
Also, again,
that
Koenig and
wasn't.
Maya in the Eagle again.
Yeah.
It's always Koenig and Maya and the eagle.
Yep. Both times. There's what, 3 eagle? No, the first time it's Alan and Koenig on the reconnaissance mission. But
Yeah.
then the other 2 flights of the Eagle are not Tony, Koenig and Maya. Yeah.
I gotta hand it to him. I am invested in these romantic relationships, even though they clearly mean very little. I'm hanging on it. You know, it's like if next episode had some romantic tension, I would be invested, more invested than if Sanderson can make them go to a crappy planet or not.
Well, the Seance Spectre of Fred Freiberger says you're welcome, Mark. Pushing all these romances on us.
Welcome. That's the Spectre talking
Do
to
you guys
you.
remember when I pulled out the big Space 1999 book that I said they added a short story about Moonbase Beta?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the Section 31 or Area 51.
Is that who they blew up in
apparently.
this episode?
No, it was the small crew that was there came over to Alpha as refugees after breakaway, and one of the ones who weirdly enough was the one who saved them from the real jerk commander or whatever who was going to try to take over Alpha was Sanderson.
Oh.
So he was the hero of that story.
Well, this is another one where they keep
why
talking
he went from
about
that to
Yeah.
what he is in this episode. It's like
They do
I don't
refer to
understand who
that.
wrote it, why they wrote that way, but
They
it was
do
interesting.
refer to that in this episode. They're like, Sanderson, you used to be
Well-
such a stand-up guy. You were the coolest guy on Moonbase Alpha.
It made it sound like he's one of the first people on Alpha. It's like, well, no,
Yeah.
he's like the first refugee to Alpha. Right after
Hey,
breakaway.
there's the virus I just got. I totally naturally said Alpha.
Alpha.
Oh, I thought you were making a point. Yeah, it's another one of those where they know they have this guest on for one episode, so they do all this exposition of like,
Tony was the
"Hey,
best
yeah,
man at his
Tony
wedding.
was best man at his wedding. Going to him in university, he was Helena's best man at her wedding. He was everyone's best
Come
man.
on, Sanderson. I'm the godfather of your child, or whatever, yeah.
He was
Yeah.
Alan's bottom.
Yes.
Anyway, I was just saying, like,
anyway.
if we can tie him in back with Simmons, like, well, there's a little something to hang your hat on. That's more than we usually get with the guest star. So,
Yeah, there's it was clear that they were putting all that in so that there was a reason why they weren't just immediately locking him up, which is what they should have done. Even if he was the most important, even if somebody really, really important was doing. Remember, Koenig was just a couple of episodes ago in the 2-parter, he was like seeing aliens and they immediately like stun him and confine him to medical. All he was doing was screaming, "Get that thing out of here! Get that thing out of here!" These people are literally just mutineering,
mutineers,
Mutineers.
Causing
and
a
everyone's kind of like,
mutiny.
"Oh, I don't know. Oh, let's let's not." And there was another thing where there was a point where Sanderson, or it was like they got Sanderson and all those people to get on the shuttle, but then no one made absolute sure. That was yeah, the thing Brian was referencing about the head of security being bad was like they didn't do anything to make sure that Sanderson was on the damn shuttle.
Well,
even
they
though
only
he's
have like
obviously
30
a huge
people,
problem.
probably 30 security people on a pretty big moon base.
He should have been in handcuffs.
So just because he was a tall guy, he could beat up everyone else on Alpha, including every security person that he confronted.
Yeah,
Who's the gorilla now?
it's him.
Gosh.
He's a dead gorilla now.
I didn't write many quotes here, mostly things that are just in every episode. I like Meyer, and then I had to write "Are You Receiving Me Again" just because it's the XTC song, right? But they say that a lot, so those aren't really worth writing. I guess total concentration is all we get out of this.
Total concentration.
There was something I made a note of. I'm not now actually for the first time reading my notes. This they seriously were talking about how after all this had happened, they were going to limit surface exploration to 15 days at a time. Why are they sending people out on the moon's surface for 15 days? Like, what do they need to do that for?
Look for Tyranium. Got to find that Tyranium.
I
guess. They need it every day. Every day they need more Tyranium.
That's just crazy. Like you can't give people I don't know, a day off. That's just like it's gonna be there, the surface. It's not like you have to worry about like astronauts.
Oh,
Where
are
it's
they
like
only exploring the surface of the moon? They're not going out and exploring. Oh, that's why the green. Okay, sorry, I'm stupid here.
yeah, I
I
still
just
no,
hear
but I still
survey
think it's kind of
explanation. I
crazy.
no, it makes more sense because I was like thinking they're around green all the time, so they come back to Alpha, and then they're like, ah, we're not on the planet anymore. But if they're exploring just the moon, then I guess that would also be explain where that came from. They're saying gray
Feels
Yeah,
like the
all the
moon should have been
time.
pretty thoroughly explored by now.
There's
yeah.
catacombs.
There's
Uh,
catacombs. Gotta look those catacombs.
it's just I can't imagine why they need to subject people to doing that. Like at
Oh, I
least
know what they're looking
stupid
for.
shifts
They need to give him something to do.
No, I know
or
what they're looking for. They're
Ballers.
looking for more atomic waste dumps because they've have yet another
Ah,
atomic waste dump this week. I thought
that's
they all blew
true.
up in episode 1. And no, the Bringers of Wonder. There's another one. It's very spacious too, very nicely laid out. And now
Yeah.
this one that kind of looks more like the original one with, domes on the lunar surface, and you have to
Domes are better.
blow the cap off of
Uh,
them and watch out for snipers in the rocks.
well, it's been 2012 days since they left Earth orbit, so they've generated a lot of waste in
I
That's
8 years. Is
5
that
years.
But they always call them
five,
the old waste dumps. It's like, no, those are
6?
gone now. You keep blowing, and then you blew up the ones you found last time, and now there's what? No.
Yeah.
5 or
And you just
6
had a
years.
set for one you built 2 weeks ago, and you didn't use that. You created yet another set. We did see a moon buggy though, Mark. You said we saw the last moon. It wasn't a full size moon buggy. It was
Mm.
like a little one.
Liar!
Yeah,
Sorry, I went
little
into
one on the moon
Sanderson mode there for
surface.
a minute.
We didn't see the actual full size one being driven around. Sadly, would have
I'm the
actually been
dictator of this
more fun.
podcast.
They
You're
had.
the dictator of trivia.
I am the dictator of trivia, and I lied.
You're commander liar of the trivia.
Well,
Did
anyway,
you
that led to
notice
my
that?
favorite quote,
Go
which
ahead, make
was,
your correction. Make your correction on air.
"Oh,
Okay, here's my correction. There's a moon buggy in this episode. Also interesting is that the words Seance Spectre, the words collision course appear in this episode more than the episode collision course. The words Seance Spectre don't occur at all.
Maybe,
Meyer, we're on a
maybe,
collision course."
maybe Fred had not watched. That was not one of the 8 he watched. I'm guessing it
That's
wasn't,
Oh,
or
you
this
think?
possible.
episode would have maybe not happened.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We're winnowing down the number of episodes he could have possibly have watched. So maybe we'll actually figure it out one of these
Or
days.
maybe, it's like how TV series have like, the one episode a season that does a certain thing. And so there's one episode where they're going to collide into another planet,
You know
Uh,
what? I
no.
think that he lied and he actually only watched like 3 episodes.
I watched 8,
Probably.
man. It was 8.
Yeah.
I got time. I'm a busy
Yeah.
man.
I hope he talked like that. Hey, Maya and Tony are gonna have sex. Yeah.
Well, that's where the softcore comes from. But Brian, I think you were having a point of some
Oh,
note.
I was gonna just say my favorite line was, "We just don't have the megatons."
We don't need the
Okay, okay, Tony,
megatons.
whatever. Also, I had to comment that they every time they have to evacuate the base, they always feel the need to empty out all the consoles and desks and main mission or command center and leave an open floor. That's just the law, I guess. I
They
don't
fit
know
those on the
why.
Eagles.
They put them on the Eagles. So there's an Eagle that's kind of like a very cramped office, I guess, where everybody just sits around. I don't know why they do that. It doesn't make any sense to me. Why? Take all the furniture with you. Oh,
Well,
speaking of furniture, I did see a brown leather couch, which was like a first. I was like, that's not some space couch that was designed for this show. That looks like a standard sofa you'd get at a furniture store. That was weird.
Yeah, it's from the old UFO moon
notice
base.
Yeah, it's from the Shadow Moon base,
did
which we
not
never
notice
talk
that.
about.
We just
I guess my favorite line is the part where Alan is arguing with Tony for no reason, where he says Sanderson is down there, and Tony says, I know Sanderson is down there. It was just that line was just there to make Tony look like a jerk.
well, Tony can be a bit of a jerk.
Well, that's it.
I wasn't listening to lines as much as music. Here's my notes. No disco, smooth lunar walk music this week. Up, here comes the disco. It kind of worked its way into the disco this week. So
Yeah.
I do hope they
flying.
play the theme song while they're evacuating, like diegetic. What is it? Not, I mean, not
Diegetic
Dianetics.
music.
Diegetic.
Diegetic.
Yeah, yeah. They
Yes.
diegetically play the theme song from second season when they're evacuating, just to make everyone move faster.
You mean
That's
like
my
the
hope.
band in Battlestar Galactica started playing the Battlestar Galactica theme in the first episode?
Yeah, well, they were playing the old theme though, weren't they?
They're
Yeah,
playing the old
Yeah.
Battlestar Galactica theme and the new Battlestar. That was very
Yeah.
clever.
Well, it's like
Okay.
in the film Iron Man, where there's like a jazz band that's playing the intro music from the Ghostface Killah album, Supreme Clientele. He's also known as Iron Man. Anyway, that's a deep cut.
Yeah, yeah. You cut deeper, and I was thinking,
It's
okay,
also that's
it's been
also
a
from like an Avengers cartoon from the 70s. So it goes deeper than that, really. But
right. Been a
I
while
I know
know
since I
another
that's
was
deep
why you
cut
playing.
did
like that. I know another one like that. There's a
it.
band in Chariots of Fire at the 1920 or 1924 Olympics, whatever it's set in. And it's playing, the marching band is playing another Vangelis song from one of his previous albums.
Nice. I've
Well, you
never
don't want
seen
to
that.
pay out licensing. Um, let's do this one: hardcore sci-fi and soft core. Anybody want to? I got numbers in my head already. I could go.
Un- Unfortunately, I have to give this one pretty high hard sci-fi because like the thing is there is whatever silly seance stuff, but since it amounts to nothing, then I don't know if it factors in. Like, can I count people sitting in a room thinking
No, you can
things?
do that. That's people do that. Hey, I do meditation. I'm not
I'm
trying to predict the future and find habitable planets, but you know.
But
What
would you consider meditation like part of your story?
do you mean part of my story?
Like if I had to rate the hard sci-fi level of your own story of your day today,
Well,
would
you
I
don't have
factor in the
to.
meditation
You don't
as
have to because
soft?
it's neither here nor there. So I guess you don't.
Yeah,
It's not soft. It's
that's
just
kind of
things
what I'm
people do,
saying.
you
It's
know?
nothing. It's nothing. It's just nothing. So I'm gonna give it 80, so 80 hard, and then 20 stuff like people being mad at each other and holding hands.
That's exactly the number I was thinking. Actually, my 20 was
Eight.
going to be for the weather belt, which I thought was stupid.
Okay.
But no, I agree. I thought I was going to piss you off by calling it 80 hard, but you know, no
Mm.
ghosts, no monsters, not even like crazy stellar phenomena other than the weather belt, which I guess you could have a lot of water floating together in space with some kind of gravitational hold and it's, you know, billowing about. I mean, you know, but I don't know. They're like, there's rain there, there's wind, and it's not wind in the vacuum of space. Dude, I don't know if
It's
they specifically say wind. I might be painting down myself, but
I They might. I just think it's like 80%. Koenig was 80% right, so listen to him. You know? It's like, how
okay.
about
So
you,
actually,
Brian?
we are agreeing on the numbers, which I
Yes.
thought was going to be a point of contention. So very interesting, Brian.
um, I
You
was
want to
going to give it two
contend?
seances and zero specters. I'm just doing like a Luke
Yeah.
going off the chart with that one.
Yeah, why not?
No, I would probably give it something similar. I'm leaning on the heart stuff because they actually did some cool model work again. They used that the eagle hanger. That
Yeah,
always
the
makes
shot
me
of it
happy.
coming in. I think that was
Yeah,
the new
the
shot, and that was
then
cool.
they damaged that eagle. All like three of the four legs were gone and everything. It was a mess. And that oh no, that model work was cool. So I'll give it some plus for
They can
that. But
fix that one though. Don't take it off the list.
yeah, but yeah, like Mark said, it's like they set it up like there's some sort of paranormal thing going on here, and it's like in the end, it's like, well, no, really, it can all be explained by psychology.
More
There's
morons in
really
outer space.
there's no supernatural crap, and there's no alien influence whatsoever that we can discern. So it's really just people going stir crazy on the moon.
Not the first time on this
Yeah.
podcast I brought up Dark Star. If you want to watch a real good one about people going
Oh
crazy
yeah.
in space.
Yeah, I saw Stark Star
Of
years ago.
course.
I got to get a copy of
Love
it.
it. But the thing is just maybe an illustration that hard sci-fi does not automatically equal good or a good episode. You know, that's just you can have hard sci-fi without like giving it all that much to think about. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Oh, we
So
should give it some soft core sci-fi for the last 2 minutes of the episode.
Yeah. I mean,
It's got Carolyn Seymour in it. What more could you want?
I thought you were talking about the trees.
I can't find that picture of her, but well, she must have been on like I said, they're going to use one of those actresses in the scene, but they didn't. So they must have shot those on the
Hey,
stage somewhere with that red backdrop. So she was probably around Pinewood, and they could have used her too, I guess. But she was probably over filming
um,
The Spy Who Loved Me next door. And that's
I
why they got her.
wonder. I really wonder if that ties into like the thing where Barbara Bain had in the contract that Catherine Shell couldn't appear without the makeup. But I guess then it's like, she hasn't really turned into a human woman except for Helena that one time, right? Like I don't think she has really.
So Bane could handle that.
Well, I think
I don't
there's a certain
know.
level of
Maybe she
skin
can't.
that was allowed, and they didn't they didn't allow her to do anymore. You never really saw her in a bikini or anything like that, did we? Because then
Oh
that would just
no.
raise
Well,
questions
everyone
about
used to run around in
Cyclone's.
blue towels.
Yeah, blue
There's
towels
a
was
blue
the
towel phase on Alpha when that was all the rage.
Yeah.
speaking of this, and it's kind of a digression again, but when I was looking at Carolyn Seymour or Carolyn Monroe, two different
Carol
Carolyns,
Monroe.
trying to find a picture from this episode, I came up with some AI generated concepts where I reimagined Space 1999, and the one that popped out was a reimagined Dr. Helena Russell, who looked remarkably like Jess Bush from Strange New Worlds.
Yeah, this
Hmm.
She's
is
like the daughter of Barbara Bain and Jess Bush in one person.
Hmm.
And
that is
attractive
like
lady.
the
She's not real, but she's really cute.
that seems to be the AI trajectory. There's some trend you see the things show up on YouTube and you're like that's interesting. Like I watched a couple of the 50s style or whatever it was, like
Hmm.
movie trailers. It was then two of them you're finished. You're like, no.
Yeah. There was a
Um,
reimagined Sandra too, if you want to go
yeah.
check that out.
All
It's
the
on.
songs, all the dumb
Yeah.
songs with like, I've never even listened to any of them. I mean, the album covers are always entertaining, but I'm like, I probably don't want to
Yeah.
hear that. I don't think I'm going to care. It's like I think
Some of them
AI
are pretty
is
funny.
I think AI is only capable of maybe making you have a brief chuckle, which is a real chuckle, but then it peters out real quick because it can't develop that chuckle.
But the thing is that the funny songs on YouTube that are AI generated are someone wrote the lyrics and they used AI to make it sound like someone from the 50s is singing the lyrics. And the lyrics are all incredibly obscene. And I'm not even going to try to repeat them for this podcast, which we try to keep kind of family ish. But,
Some of those are
the obscurest
funny. The
vinyl.
obscure smile. Yeah, some of those are
Yeah.
kind of funny. Yeah.
It's very funny, but it's clear that the AI did not write the lyrics. Like there is no way. It's too funny. Like there are people I know who are comedians who are not as funny as those songs.
Well, I think they're using AI as a term for software that can emulate voices, and
Yes.
yeah,
I
so
mean, there are a lot of this thing is there are a lot of things AI can do. There is a limited amount of things that AI can do well.
Mm.
And and you'll notice if you use any AI chat thing where you're on a normally useful website and it's like, how can I help you? And you ask for something, it gives you a completely useless response. Not good at doing that. The thing that companies keep trying to use it for. It's not good at that. It's good at, simulating voices and things like that, but not good at writing text
Well,
for
just
the
be
voices to
patient. The
say.
old ones will eventually come through.
We'll see. But, I hope so. I hope the old ones just come through and just put a giant fist in the earth and just
Flew
rip
through
it
the
asunder.
yeah. Cool
Yes.
through. That's such a hard word to
Destroy
say. Mm.
Cthulhu.
Cthulhu, thank you.
I mean, there's a
Um,
lot of hard to say things in that canon, but
yeah. Shall we wind this one down for this day?
all right. If you enjoyed us savagely ripping this episode, then check out other podcasts where we savagely rip things like the Twilight Zone and Time Enough podcast, Films and Filth, all kinds of films. Luke loves Pokemon, or does he hate them? No, he loves them. Game Show, the game show about games. Hyrule Field Report and Monster Mash have a huge back catalog for you to peruse. Also, oral hygiene. Check that back catalog out. And
Okay, you did that thing. Things were said.
do not.
Liar!
I'm glad you did that because I couldn't think of what to say. It's gonna be like, do not go to Piss Planet or something.
No, screaming liar at someone is fun. So
yeah, so I couldn't think
okay.
of a good way to cap this one.
That could.
I mean, not to
that could
pat
have
my
been
own back,
fun.
but I think I nailed it.
Yes, you did. Good, great job.
It's funny. I
Um,
made a Vangelis reference, and I forgot in my notes the first thing I saw when I saw Sanderson. I thought,
Oh yeah.
Vangelis is mad because he looks like a mad
That's
Vangelis.
I missed the opportunity to do that again. Oh, it wouldn't have worked anyway because you can
whoa,
Yeah,
barely see
with
them.
all your
weird.
CDs.
Are those Vangelis
I
CDs?
have a huge pile of CDs, and none of them are Vangelis. They're all
70,
already
70s
filed away.
Vangelis and weird vinyl recreations
It's
for
all the ones I
CDs.
have not put away in the last year or two. I've been buying CDs. I need to go file them away.
I have this CD for your mind modulation machine Matt,
I don't
that I
need that.
found.
That has
What's your
what it
newest
Resource bin.
CD? Quick, what's your newest CD? See
what
what I got.
me?
Yeah.
Oh, I
I
on
don't know.
Saturdays I go to the used store. I go to the used store and see what they have and buy them for 50 cents. Let's see what I got last week.
I've been on a Jerry Rafferty kick, so I've been finding his albums. They're hard to find online. They're mostly in Europe because he was not that popular in America after a certain point. It's
Man, I'm gonna
mostly
be
Scottish
honest.
people.
Let's
I don't
see.
remember the last time I bought a CD, and the last time I bought vinyl was probably like 2021. I haven't been buying music lately.
No, because I go, during my lunch break on Saturdays, I go by this weird used store and they have all the 50 yen CDs. So I'll just, go in for a few minutes and see what they got. So I'm trying to turn off my background so I can actually flash these. So what I get this week was this Tripping Daisy album. I never heard that. I said it was psychedelic,
Oh,
so
I didn't like that album, but I liked their first album.
okay. I didn't love it. It was
Uh,
okay. The
yeah.
Santo Gold album I never heard, which isn't too
Which one
bad.
is that?
It's her second one, I think.
I think that's
Mas
my favorite. Master of
Master
My
of My
Make
Make
Believe.
Believe. Yeah.
That's my favorite of hers. It's really
This
good.
Beck album, which I had before, but I don't have it. I think it's in America, so it's kind
Which
of
one
I
is
like
that?
Sea Change. It's one of his
Oh,
sad
I don't
bastard
think I heard that
albums.
one. Yeah.
Here's the one that you'll love. Yes.
That's I can't believe that exists. Like I read an interview with one of them recently. It was like really insane how much like Luke was like straight up just their manager who took over the group.
Yeah,
Like
pretty
he was
much.
just their fucking manager. He just like completely just slid in there and took over everything. It's really
That's what
interesting.
Dr. Eugene Landy tried to do with Brian Wilson, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Did he show up on recordings?
He said he claimed to write the first Brian Wilson solo album had a bunch of Landy song credits, which were later taken off.
Who's a bigger plague to the Beach Boys, him or Charles Manson?
Hmm. The Manson story is so much more interesting than the Landy one, though.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Landy,
And he actually could write songs. It's actually true.
yeah. I mean, he couldn't play them was the problem.
Yeah.
No, I will say that Charles Manson wrote several decent songs. But then you
That's
sing them like this and speed up and slow down, and people would tell him, dude, play it in meter, and then he'd be like, "Fuck you, Charlie does what Charlie does," you know.
I just
I'll
was
show.
reminded of this weird science fiction story I read years ago. I'll put it in the chat. It's a book
Oh,
called Glimpses about a guy who kind of time travels into the 60s and hears music that was never recorded and it
Oh yeah, Jar
and
Jar's journey looks fucking terrible. Okay.
so it's kind of a weird thing because like things like the original version of Pets the not Pet Sounds but what Smile, the Beach
Yeah.
Boys Smile,
mhm.
it's like he imagined it and then it turned up on his tape deck.
Wow.
So he was able to like somehow
Oh,
go into the past
93.
and
Okay.
and pull music that was never created by the Doors or by whoever, and then it
Mm,
recorded it, and then he could release it as like a lost bootleg or something. It
That's
was a
amazing.
weird story. It was
because
kind of
I'm now
interesting.
I'm perfectly content with the versions of Smile we have now.
Oh
Yeah,
no,
I
is
like
that
the
the one he made
version.
years later? Yeah.
I like the version that was the assembled Beach Boys version better than the Brian Wilson
Oh
version.
yeah,
I really thought the Brian Wilson version, you can tell the limitations of the stuff he was working with, unfortunately. I
but
mean,
also that the point of that one was to provide a framework to make the Beach Boys one. Because without the Brian Wilson
yeah,
one, they wouldn't have known what the fuck to do with that stuff, you know? But now, okay, here's a
makes sense.
framework so he can make. So I agree that
Yeah.
the Beach Boys one is much superior, but it needed the Brian Wilson one.
Well, it's one of those things when I think when stuff like Pro Tools first came out, people forgot that like back when record labels were whatever king, the 60s and 70s, part of the reason those records sounded good was because there were insane big giant recording studio rooms that had been engineered to sound great, and
Right.
you can't just replicate that because you can do whatever you want with 100 tracks,
I kind of
you
stopped
know.
doing it, but for a while I was trying to do like even like vocals and percussions, like field recordings. I'd just record them in a pavilion outside, which I don't know if that's good or bad on an iPad, you know? But
I
I
think
was like,
that's something where you have to pick and choose things, and
oh, I
maybe
was
something
picking and
work and
choosing.
some
Yeah, I
won't.
was definitely picking and choosing, but yeah, if you go into my album Party Season of the Sun has a lot of that. Where you can actually hear like environmental noises like in like not just nature but other things like in the background a little bit.
Nurture.
Um some nurture, yeah.
Nature and nurture.
There is one day next week when I cannot do a podcast and I can't remember I think it's I think it's this time next week should be okay for me, I think.
Do,
And then
do,
mark
do.
Wednesday night for 50 Shades of Black.
Next Wednesday.
Yeah, because
Okay, I'm
assuming
in.
Luke can do it, I'm not 100% sure Luke can do that. So,
I have watched most of it and it sucks shit. You're
okay, I
not
haven't
gonna
watched
enjoy
any
it.
of it. I'm not going to enjoy it. Did you watch it on
It's so
YouTube?
I watched it on 1, 2, 3 movies.
Okay.
It's like it's like the what was it? It's a lot like what was the one of the it's like one of the parody ones where there are jokes that are not funny and it just
Yeah.
keeps.
Yeah, remember the last one I did was a year and a half ago. I was like, congratulations, guys. We don't have to do another one for a year and a half. Well, now we're here.
Yeah, it's worse than 2001: A Space Travesty, or it it might be worse than Stan Helsing even. I don't.
I'm
It's a question of whether it's worse than Bucky Larson, because like the thing is, unlike Bucky Larson, it does have like sex in it, but it still isn't like hot
hmm.
somehow because it's just so not funny.
I should look at the Films and Filth list. We've been so busy. I haven't done the five Twilight Zone list yet, and I haven't things I haven't done.
Oh
Also,
man,
probably because oh yeah, Mark, I did some sidewalk diving last week.
sidewalk diving?
Yeah.
Did you
Mhm.
fall? Oh no! Oh fuck!
There's on my leg too.
Yeah. How far did you dive?
I was running for the train and took a flying leap into gravel.
Oh fuck!
Oh,
I pulled a
That
pebble, like a
sucks.
full-size pebble out of my knee.
Jesus Christ!
oh
Man,
man.
leave earlier. I hope it wasn't our fault.
I was
No,
walking
no.
across the parking lot last fall at night and I tripped on something and landed on my knees and it took forever. They're still not the same as they ever were. I
My
mean, they'll
knees
never
Ah,
come
will be.
along pretty fine. The this one's a little funkier because it's scraped, right? So and then you
yeah.
have galls on it. But
Yeah.
in the first couple days we were like doing it slightly wrong because the doctor didn't give us enough information. But yeah, now that we went again and I got proper like how to do it. Like last night came off. Like changing this one was like excruciatingly painful. But if you put it in the
Mm.
bath for a few minutes, it's fine, which she could have told us.
Oh, wow.
So now I figured
Yeah.
that out. So it
I
should.
fucked yeah, I fucked my shit up in my 30s really bad running because I tripped over like a piece of a sign that was still embedded in the ground or something.
They
Where it's
did give
like
me
a
a tetanus shot.
ugh, ah. Well, I have a tetanus booster, so technically I don't think I have to get a tetanus shot, but I don't know.
Yeah. I don't why don't I they
Just
said
assuming that I'm gonna fall.
yeah. No, I was actually coming home from seeing Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh yeah, I remember you talking about coming home from seeing it. And I guess I didn't know that you fell and hurt
No, I
yourself.
think I told you I was going to go see it, but I hadn't seen it
Oh yeah,
yet.
makes sense. Makes
So
sense.
then afterwards is when I went crashing and then missed the last train and then had to walk 2 kilometers on it. Well,
Oh
I didn't do any
god.
bone or muscle. Well, I twisted my ankle a little bit, but I didn't do any major. It's like skin damage, right? So
That was I mean, that's what I did when I fell on my knee when I was like running in my 30s. I just walked back home, which was stupid as hell. I should have called a lift. My knee was
mm,
all puffy for like a week.
yeah, they've got
Uh,
I got a little bit of bruising at my foot, but it's not that puffy. It's fine. Mm.
yeah.
Okay. Anyway, in the name of not running for another train, I guess I will stop this recording and we will wrap it up.